because we have to realize that as we enter this new world, what is the new world going to look like? We can determine that, but also just releasing the bounds that the matrix has put on us of what could exist, because it isn't until we experience these shakeups, these events, that we feel like, okay, the world isn't what I thought it was. And it's time that we realize that, we're entering a space where it never was. It never was what we thought it was, because what we thought it was sold to us. Welcome, I'm your friendly neighborhood snazzy astrologer here with a transmission for you. Excuse the noisy background as it's a beautiful day. My window's open. I got a mic, but it can only do so much. So I wanted to talk about some of the shifts that we'll be facing. A lot of spiritualists, astrologers, human design analysts, so on and so forth, are describing this shift that we are currently present for. And congratulations to you for incarnating at this time. We are an amazing bunch to be here. Okay, so getting into it, just to name a few, I will be talking about the transition from Pluto in Capricorn to Pluto in Aquarius, Chiron moving from Aries to Taurus, the North Node moving from Aries to Pisces, Uranus moving from Taurus to Gemini. For these transits, I don't have the dates on hand, and I find that to be irrelevant. I'm not an expert in predictive astrology in terms of I don't practice it often. There's a lot of others that do a way better job by hunkering down on aspects and looking at prior hits to degrees and planets. That's not my ministry, so I will be talking in generalities, but also still specifically. Just when it comes to dates, you might want to just Google when the transit will be happening, and you can kind of do your own inner work to discern, one, if it's even applicable, and two, when it would occur. But I'm talking about energy, and energy is hardly ever black and white. It hardly fits neatly into a box. So that's why I'm not too concerned with dates. I just know what's coming down the line in the years to come. And in the years to come, I'll be mostly talking about from now until 2027, maybe 2030. I would like to say that it's interesting as we look at the end of Pluto in Capricorn. Pluto is a generational planet. It moves very slowly through a sign. So it could take anywhere between 10 to almost 30 years, depending on what sign it's in. It's a story that unfolds over a period of time. That being said, with Pluto in Capricorn, what we experienced, it's a shorter Pluto transit than Pluto in Aquarius. Pluto in Capricorn is roughly 12 years. We have at least 20 years in Pluto in Aquarius, and we had about 12 years in Pluto in Capricorn. That just goes to show that it differs depending on the sign. We're at the tail end. Basically, we're at the end. We're at the end because Pluto has retrograded into Capricorn, and it will not be there for the rest of our lives in this life cycle. If you believe in incarnation, you might see it again in your soul's journey, but as we are in this incarnation, it will not happen again. So that is something to note. Having that being said, Pluto in Capricorn, at this end of it, we're seeing a lot of the structures fall to the point where none of us, I would say a good 80% of us, do not believe in it. And especially talking about the younger generations are going to take the helm, i.e. millennials and Gen Z. Some Gen X, let's not forget Gen X, have and will be losing faith in the system. The system as we grew up with it, millennials and Gen X will know that we had a way more steady childhood. We had a way more routine, things happened very, not like this. Things weren't, it wasn't a historical event every week, darn near every day. Since Pluto in Capricorn, we've seen a disillusion. My cat is following something with his eyes, so I know there's something in the room with me, which tells me, I know the spirits love it here. Well, the good ones do. So, Pluto in Capricorn, we're at the end, and now we're seeing the structures really fall. And this is something I suspected and knew would happen because, this is the last hit. This is the last hit. It's tying up the story. Like, we're done. Like, that is the past. We're entering this new age. Whether you want to call it the new age, 5D, new earth, age of Aquarius, whatever, it's new. It's a shift. It's happening. We can see signs of it everywhere. Like, we've been seeing signs of it for a long time, specifically during the Saturn-Jupiter stay in Aquarius. For a lot of people, that was an awakening when the world has never looked the same since. And the powers that have been known this, hence them using the phrase new normal, because new normal is what they were ushering us into in their own way. Okay, so that was a bit on Pluto and Capricorn entering Aquarius. Just generally speaking, ushering us into this new age, or we'll have to be self-reliant, because when the structures fall, who do we turn to? Each other. And when you turn to each other, we look to each other for what? Our assets, our talents, our gifts, our skills. So it's as much as it is on the individual as it is on the collective, i.e. the Leo Aquarius axis, individual and the collective. Now, it's not versus. I refuse to give power to the versus archetype. We have to be careful about the words we use and the ideas that we introduce into the collective and what we perpetuate, as we saw with Pluto and Capricorn. When the machine had its grip on the media, it was able to perpetuate cultures that it wanted to, ideas that it wanted to. Now the power will fall back into our hands as the people. Probably hasn't been done like this for centuries. I'm not sure. I wasn't there, right? But in recent history, the power has been in the machine's hands, the system's hands, so to speak. The matrix, the systems that be, the structures that have ruled will no longer rule. We see the fall of religion, widespread religion. People aren't going to churches the way they used to. People aren't looking to the Pope the way they used to. The people that are growing older, and as the life cycle happens, they'll be passing away, and the new generations will replace them in the cycle of life in society. And we have seen that the new generations do not hold religion structurally as a system the way that older generations have. Same thing with schools. Schools are failing by and large in the U.S. Homeschool is becoming more prevalent, or private school is becoming more prevalent as a viable option. Even the medicine industry, people are looking for alternatives as opposed to relying on their structures. And people are forced to not rely on the government, as we're seeing natural disasters happen and the government doing absolutely nothing. And people are using their own resources to help others. Pluto and Capricorn to Pluto and Aquarius. At this time, we also have Chiron in Aries. So Chiron is interesting here because it's co-present at this time with the North Node in Aries. When it first started the transit about 6 years ago or so, it was not co-present with Aries. But now it is. It was not co-present with the North Node. When the transit started about 6 years ago, it was not co-present with the North Node, but now it is. And I have noticed that when the North Node did go into Aries, we saw more conversations ridiculing the masculine in a way that seeks for it to grow. It can no longer exist in the way that it has before. So, a lot of people were triggered or upset, and there's going to be some contention. Anytime you criticize or anytime you analyze anything, there's going to be pushback, because sometimes there's people that don't want things to change, and that's fine for them. That's their role. But then it's very valid to want things to change, to see something wrong and want it to change. And that has been happening with the masculine by and large. We see it in social media. We see it in our structures as well. We see it being challenged. And not just the masculine, but Aries themes such as war. We're seeing, in the US, laws around weaponry being called for, so on and so forth, whether we agree or not. This is just things that are happening. And it's serves us to observe it in relation to astrology so that we can synthesize and understand what the overall themes may be and what it's ushering us into. Aries is also independence. So this is where it's criticizing us to strengthen us, right? So Chiron is where it's criticizing, where it's exposing the wounds in to heal. Once things are healed, they're stronger. Once things are healed, we have the wisdom, right? So with Chiron and Aries and this independence, we are seeing opinions being highlighted with the North Node. However, we're seeing where we have chinks in our armor, where the weak spots are with our independence. Like, okay, let's say, for example, we need to be in community, right? Chiron and Aries is exposing how we've been over individualistic. It's exposing where we've fallen short in our independence and how that will negatively affect us trying to enter community. So as an individual, what exactly are you offering? What exactly can you offer? What exactly has all this independence done for you and able to enter a society to help others? And it also in a lot of things too. I mean, even though it's collective energy that I'm talking about, it applies differently to other people because not everyone's playing the same role. You understand? Like, we've seen this time and again. Even with the panini, let's call it, right? That we just call it as a code word for what we know that happened in 2020. Some people were going through some of the worst periods of their lives, had a lot of losses. Some people were thriving, became millionaires in that time period. So there is no such thing as one thing's going to happen, period, for everybody, everywhere. Everyone's going to have their own experience based on their own spiritual trajectory, based on their own decisions. So let's keep that in mind as well. So bearing in mind that everyone has their own individual journeys, even with all these collective messages, Chiron and Aries, some people might realize that they haven't been independent at all, that they've been relying too much on others, i.e. South Node and Libra, and are leaving things behind to serve themselves. And in that serving of themselves, they will grow to be a stronger individual who can offer way more to the collective or nothing at all. They might become the most selfish beings. They might become the new tyrants of the new world. Who knows what the new world's going to look like in terms of rulership? That's not something I have insight on at this time. But there will be people that will have more power than others because we exist in a world where people desire to be led. And there are people that are going to want to lead. These are some of the archetypes that we exist in. So there's going to be maybe many leaders throughout the collective. Or I don't think there's going to be another totalitarian mindset situation, but I'm not God. I don't know. But based on the astrology, it's more predictable that there will be many collectives, many collectives with leaders. And maybe these people will have embraced the Aries energy. Okay. All that being said, additionally speaking, as we move through these transits, set the stage for the next, right? So once we move from the Chiron in Aries, in a couple of years, 2027, we have Chiron in Taurus. We've had Uranus in Taurus. These are two different energies, but in the same sign. So the same areas would be affected, such as resources, money, wealth, distribution, value systems, so on and so forth. And beauty, and standards of beauty. Okay? So, it's had a download because the North Node will be entering Pisces. This is an advanced level conversation. Again, tap in, get involved in the conversation so I can respond to your comments in another video, perhaps. Maybe I'll just make short videos if you have a question and answer that question that is more serving to my energy. But right now I just wanted to put this out there. This is a transmission. So put this out there and we can go from there. Again, if you have questions, just leave them in the comments. And I can respond to them in video or in written format. We'll see, right? Now the North Node is the energy what's being highlighted, that's being supported, that's being put, that that we're moving towards, whereas the south node is being released. So the energy is building in the north node, the energy is being released in the south node. And so it's supposed to be let go so that you can elevate, evolve. Now it's interesting because we'll have the north node in Pisces before Chiron and Taurus, but they will be at some point together. And I think this will set the stage for the Lulu type thing, like where, the powers of imagination will be way more powerful than previously seen. So I wrote down for North Node in Pisces, Lulu, if you can dream it, you can be it. If you can dream it, you can make it. If you can dream it, so on and so forth. I think I'll make a shirt on that, actually. We'll see dreams being realized, essentially. And this could probably put the service and businesses in detriment because people will be chasing their dreams. Who knows? Perhaps, it's hard to translate because we don't know if all the things that are going to color this transit. I've looked at the charts, but just looking at this specific energy, I'm like, okay. And then with Chiron and Taurus, I feel like plastic surgery is going to be in the rise because, again, Chiron is the weak parts. And it's a long transit as well, so it's not going to just immediately just unfold on the first day it goes in. But I feel like we're going to see an unfolding of people moving away from their natural looks to relying on cosmetics and plastic surgery, or perhaps there'll be a reckoning of such, a reckoning of the overuse, perhaps just both happening at the same time where people are going to the extremes and there will be a reckoning of this. Or it'll become ubiquitous, but something around the energy of transforming your looks, your physical appearance to match what's in your mind is coming up. And with more virtual reality taking place and more AI taking place, I feel like it's probably going to lean to a split, a reckoning, ultimately getting into a situation where we're valuing the natural again. We'll see, because Chiron reveals the chinks and strengthens it over time if it is addressed and healed. So we could see a turnaround and an embracing of our natural features. Again, also, the power of the individual rules overall. So you can decide how you fit into this trajectory. And this may not even be a trajectory. This is just energies as I see it, and, helping us to kind of envision a future that, just us to realize, we have to realize that as we enter this new world, what is the new world going to look like? We can determine that, but also just releasing the balance that the matrix has put on us of what could exist. Because it isn't until we experience these shakeups, these events, that we feel like, okay, the world isn't what I thought it was. And it's time that we realize that, we're entering a space where it never was. It never was what we thought it was, because what we thought it was sold to us. What we thought the world was told to us, sold to us, doctrined into us. So it wasn't authentic to so many aspects of our being. So now that we kind of get to control that, i.e. Pluto and Aquarius, it's important to release some of the things that we held dear and thought that it was the end all be all, because there is a world that exists outside the box they tried to put us in. So that, whatever that means to you individually and what it means to us collectively, we'll see. But that's why I always say, do the inner work to reveal your intuition, your own motivations, your own destiny. That's the most important thing of anything, right? So going forward, I lastly want to talk about Uranus and Gemini. I'm not going to talk about, the aspect of, war, because there's a lot of discussion on that, but I can, but not in this video. I did make a post about this once where I concluded that Uranus and Gemini is going to be about the control of information in a lot of different ways. Access to information, control of information, who has information has the power, it moving from one place to another. Like, it's going to be very shifty. And that could be when we have an internet outage. That could be when we have like these things like, I feel like there's gonna be a lot of shiftiness. I feel like there's gonna be a lot of shiftiness. Another account that I love that helps to frame a lot of the things that I've been downloading IJD at Twitter. One of the things that I found the most interesting is that she mentioned that society would be more nomadic, and we can understand how that would be the case as we're seeing large-scale evacuations. At the time I'm recording this video, there's large-scale evacuations happening out of Florida due to the hurricane season. These people will have to start from scratch. And as we're seeing natural disasters become more prevalent, specifically in the South, people will have to be moving. We're seeing that we can't rely on the government for aid. So it's like, okay, you know, and people aren't buying houses. So people are not planting deep roots. It's giving nomadic. And with Gemini ruling over like small communities, neighborhoods, they're not going to look the same, because there's not going to be like, you know, again, once our generations, the younger generations take their space in society, there's not going to be like, you know, the people that had that house for generations probably won't be there. There won't be like, you know, the boomer holding down the land. It might be running out 5 or 6 times, you know, like a few different families, and so there won't be the neighborhoods as we've known them. And yeah, so that's my transmission as of right now. I wanted to start doing some things. I have a lot of things I want to do. A lot of things. There's so much to talk about with astrology. Like even this doesn't scratch the surface. Like I can go into detail, and I haven't even looked at any charts. This is just what I've downloaded over the past few days, and I'm just like, okay, time to talk about it. Oh, I did want to talk about quickly, I wanted to say also, as society changes, the demands for humans are changing, and certain things just don't work anymore. Just like the structures aren't sustainable, it doesn't make sense anymore to have a 9 to 5 in the way that our parents grew up, right? We're seeing this shifts, and it's just not going to go back. Thing about what we're seeing now is that, like, you know, we're thinking, some of us might think, oh, you know, it'll eventually go back to no. It's like, this is the time where you start to rely on the skills, start to rely on your natural gifts, start to rely on what you can offer to others, or yourself, right? Like to build your resources. What you could say, Uranus and Gemini energy will be very potent, what can shift things in your favor. The demands for humans are changing, and humans are evolving along with that. You know, as a spiritual person, I feel like certain people and energies incarnated onto this earth during certain times to assist with the change, assist with the shift. And some of that energy shifting is seeing a rise in diagnosing of ADHD and the embracing of ADHD and neurodivergence, because we're realizing like, hey, we don't fit into this box, and the box we're moving out of this box, like, period. And then with this large migration of people realizing, embracing, and moving out of the box, these large number of people moving and embracing their natural neurodivergence, and realizing like, I don't have to be in this box, and moving from said box will assist with the shift that we're seeing, and it's necessary, because these are the people that are going to lead us change, you know, assist the shift, change society, and lead us to the new paradigm. It's going to look very jumpy. Uranus and Gemini. It's going to look very Pluto and Aquarius. Also is water bearer energy. The guides are being born. The information is loading and being decimated. Like, it's disseminated, I should say. The information is loading and being disseminated, in some cases decimated. We're seeing this. This is a very interesting time. Let me know what resonates for you. Let me know if you have any questions, and I can answer them separately. Like and subscribe so I can stay engaged with you. And most importantly, stay safe, and may love be with you.